Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's see what happens. I'm interested in finding out.
No, I know, and I thought I just did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay. No, I know. I thought I just did. So it's on the scale of things. It's not on the avoidance scale, but it's certainly not on the definitive, respectful sentence scale of things. It's standing on your own 2 feet. And then she reacts in a way that I thought she would, that she's like, okay, well, then see ya. And that's totally fine. He could benefit everything by saying, hey, I just want to say I'm sorry. But we've seen so many bad breakups. I would say that she could walk away from this breakup, even though he completely failed at this. There's a lot of bad elements to this breakup that he just performed. But he overall exhibited that he cared, that he was suffering, that it was a big deal to him. And I'm guessing that that helps for her, if anything would. So, yeah. Now, it'd be interesting because let's see what Molly does. Because what if she goes into the lounge and she just completely falls apart? Then we'd have a different picture. If she doesn't fall apart, if she doesn't start crying, that doesn't mean she doesn't have tremendous emotion around this. So there's that. People deal with grief and loss in completely different ways. So, yeah, but I'm curious what happens with Molly. Or does Molly go up to Lauren and scream in her face and say, you pressured my man to break up with me. I hate you. I doubt it. Molly in the lounge has exhibited a lot of maturity and fairness and differentiation up till this point. I just think about, she's really excited about Dave. She's like, yeah, Dave's my number one. And in the lounge, apparently no one at that phase was talking about it, but she's just bubbling over because, she's that way and she's very confident. And I think she had good reason to be. And then Lauren comes over, and Lauren doesn't know that Molly is the one with Dave. And Molly thinks that Sarah is the secondary person and not Lauren. Sarah might have still been a secondary person at that phase, but anyway, Molly discloses to Lauren, Dave is my person, and I think we're definitely on the track to getting engaged. And then Lauren doesn't say anything, and is like, oh, that's fine, because it sounded like the general rule was not to say anything, and Molly was the one that diverged from that rule. So, she's free to do that. Lauren's also free to follow the general understanding that they're not going to do that. Then later, Molly, much later, learns that Lauren was the second one, and so Molly's talking to one of her friends in the lounge, and Molly is saying, yeah, I just feel so, I don't know what word she said, I feel so silly or foolish for blabbing to Lauren that Dave was my number one, which wasn't good to say because Lauren really likes Dave. And why did I do that? Why didn't I follow the rule that we weren't going to discuss that? And I'm just like, ugh, she's cringing at herself. That shows differentiation, maturity, and because there's a lot of reasons why she would have an impulse to hate Lauren, right? Now, maybe at the time she's feeling bad for Lauren because she thinks Lauren's going to get dumped, and she had a lot of good reasons to believe that. I think Dave even literally said while he was connecting with Molly something to the effect of, well, now I've got to break up with someone.
Hi.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Is it weird that we
Sorry,
talk?
it's not weird, but like you
Okay.
decide.
No.
Okay, so Molly goes right up to Lauren after. I'm laughing because it's shocking. I didn't expect that. I thought Molly would either have a bit of a chip on her shoulder or just continue to have the policy of not interacting with Lauren and just bounce from the lounge. But I think this indicates more emotional investment from Molly. I also note that they appear to be the only two people in the lounge, which is interesting. And I think that I know from my contact on the show and from cast on the show that as the 10 days progress in the pods, they all do their engagements on day 9, and then the hallway is day 10, I think, from my memory. And so it's probably day 8. It seems that way. You could imagine Dave waiting until the last possible minute. Also, my contact on the show says that maybe there's like a bingo or drinking game every time I say my contact on the show. But I really value her telling me stuff because she gives background, so it helps me understand the context. It helps a lot for me to understand what's happening because anyway, so another part of it is that they're all mainly there during the daytime, like a day shift, like 9 to 5. And then most of the cast will go back to the hotel, but you can request that you stick around for the swing shift, from the 5 to 9, 5 to 10 time span. And you can request to continue to date particularly if you are really connecting with someone or you're really trying to decide, why go back to the hotel and just twiddle your thumbs when you can stay in the pods with the love of your life and just hang out. There's a lot of pods to fill. So the evening time will involve people that are more involved with each other and also later in the week. So I wonder if this is evening day 8, which would mean just before the deadline of having to propose, which is day 9. Molly comes in. Lauren's the only one there. Does this mean Lauren is waiting to date him, like she's next in line or something? Molly's going right up to Lauren, and there's a little bit of a conversation there I'm curious what Molly looked like, because if Lauren notices Molly is upset, then Lauren would have a lot of feelings right now of just like, oh my God, it looks like, because I think Lauren is in a position right now where she is thinking, I think he's about to propose to me, but there's a good chance that I am completely crazy and what she would say stupid. And Molly, anyway, but I want to rewind that because there's a little back and forth there.
Hi.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm okay.
I don't know why I really want to break down. This is real shit. This is drama. This is reality TV. We're watching a real moment of humanity, and it's messy in all of its glory. So she walks in, and Lauren has a nice face. Looks like she's playing, or she's, and how are you? So on one hand, you think, well, Lauren knows that Molly's about to be dumped, but I don't think Lauren knew that, at least in the edit. I think she might have suspected that and hoped for that for herself, But anyway, so Molly comes in, Lauren says, hey, and open, and because they don't normally interact for the policy of just not getting into it with each other. And then Molly says, okay. So I'm guessing Lauren is like, okay, that doesn't sound like the way someone would sound if they just gotten or pre-engaged.
Okay.
Is it weird that we
Decide.
talk?
It's not weird, but like you
Okay.
decide.
No.
Okay, so Molly said, is it weird that we talk? And no, it's not weird. You decide. That's a good thing to say, right? It's not weird. You decide, meaning I would like to talk to you, but if you don't want to, you decide. But anyway, this will be interesting. See how this conversation goes. So what's my prediction? This could go a lot of different ways. Molly, she comes across as very, very non-emotional, non-invested. But that doesn't mean she's not invested, doesn't mean she's not emotional. Some people who don't show emotion can be the most emotional people. Everyone's emotional is the thing. Yeah, at all points in time, you have emotion. It's just a part of your brain processing things to differing degrees and different self-awarenesses. But so I could see her confronting Lauren about pressuring Dave, which would be interesting to watch, but would be pretty ugly as a conversation. That's what she's being told. It didn't look that way. I mean, it's in that direction, but Dave's a big boy. Anyway, so that could happen, but I don't think Molly is like that. I could see her wanting to talk about everything that has been unsaid because they have refrained from opening up to each other out of just an effort to keep things cool or between them or to follow some rule. Because I don't know if they have those talks, if there's some kind of unspoken rule or there's a consensus. It seems like maybe there is some conversation, or at least maybe there's individual conversations. Like we're all not talking about who we're connecting with, right? Because we don't want to get into each other's hair. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and then well, I heard someone else saying that we're not. Oh, okay. So we're not. You could see. I don't know. And so I could see Molly saying, okay, now that that's over, I just want to have a conversation with you because it's just so weird, and I'm an open, extroverted person, and I just want to get some things off my chest and say, I'm glad, or I'm sorry, or I don't know, or whatever, just want to finally connect. I could see her having questions for Lauren of, how did you see Dave? Because I saw signs of this and that. What did you see? Or let me tell you what I saw, and take it or leave it. But as a friend, I just want you to know what I saw. Or he just dumped me, and I don't want us to have any bad blood. I don't have bad blood with you. And I want us at the very least to be friendly and maybe friends. Now that this is changed, it's like we can be pals. I'm guessing that's why she's doing this. I don't know. Let's see.
I think I appreciate your sorry.
Yeah, no. Take your time. Do whatever you need to do.
Okay, she's crying. I'm personally glad. I'm sad for her, but I'm glad she has humanity. Now, I am writing a book on grief, and I want to emphasize that you don't have to cry to demonstrate that you have emotion or that you're feeling it. You can deal with loss in a lot of different ways. And the notion that, especially for women, if they don't cry, it means that they're a cold-hearted B word or a robot or they don't care or something, in my book, I go into detail about Lindy Chamberlain in Australia. There's still problems. A dingo ate my baby. That whole thing has to do with this notion of stereotype and assumption of how people deal with grief. But there's other legal cases as well along these lines. There was a father that lost his kids in a fire, and he was just in a daze when the police showed up, and the police and prosecutors used that lack of emotion, quote unquote, as evidence or as a reason for investigating him and then finding him guilty, and then later he was exonerated. Anyway, I say all that to say that anyone can cry or not cry, and there's no pathology, there's no indication of anything. So she's crying, and I guess. When I watch the show, I want to watch humanity. I want people to model humanity for everyone. I want people to allow themselves to be human. I want to watch something that's real. And there wasn't a big question, but a question if Molly was on the side of seemingly not invested, then it looks like we're not watching a real show where someone is really heading towards engagement. So to see, she could still be less invested than others on the show, but the fact that she's crying, I think, is all those things that I am hoping for, but not requiring of any cast member.
I was honest with him and said, I want someone that wants me fully. All I want is to find my person. I want you to find your person, and I want him to find his person. So I would not have said shit in front of you.
Yeah, no, I know.
And I hope you know that.
Okay, interesting. So, it's a jumble, I think, because it's overwhelming. There's a lot happening for her. And she starts by saying, I wanted to be with my person, I think, meaning I want to be with someone that really wants to be with me and only me, right? Yeah. And I want you to find your person. It's a really nice thing to say. I want him to find his person. Another nice thing to say. And then what did she say?
I want you to find your person, and I want him to find his person. So,
she's leading up to, I would not have said shit in front of you, referring to what I was talking about earlier. And, there's nothing wrong. Unless I don't know the rules that they all agreed to follow, which I don't think was true, then, well, I think, actually, what Molly is actually referring to is, and we just saw probably just some of it, of Molly maybe not super loud. Well, did she? But at the very least, loud enough for Lauren to hear Molly celebrating how she knows. Well, like in that very first episode, early in the week, in the 10 days, Molly says, I have a husband. And I think she said that right in front of Lauren. Stuff like that. Just she's more extroverted, Molly. She's more outward with her communication. She has a harder time holding things in, which is fine. There's pros and cons. And she now regrets that because of what that. So at some point, she must have been feeling this even prior to her being broken up with, even while she thinks that she was the one that Dave was going to pick. Because as she started to learn, oh, it's actually Lauren, and I've been saying stuff, and if Lauren gets dumped, like, why would I be doing that? Why would I be just announcing that and celebrating that? So I think this has been on her agenda regardless. That's the way it looks to me.
Have said shit in front of you, like,
Yeah, no, I know.
and I hope you know that.
Yeah.
I really thought
like,
it was
totally-
Sarah until Sarah was like, it wasn't me. And I was like, what? And then I was like, okay, there's someone else. I'm like, shit.
Okay, so I think what she's saying here is I really thought it was Sarah, so I wasn't saying things around Sarah. But then when I found out it wasn't Sarah, I was like, oh shit, well, who is it? It could be a lot of these people that I assumed it wasn't, and I was like expressing my happiness or my prediction about me and Dave. And so this really says a lot about Molly's character, that after being dumped, which is hard, clearly, the first thing she has an impulse to do is to apologize to Lauren and to take full responsibility. Just be like, and so let's look at our apology. Sometimes I actually have the mug, but I don't have that one right now, but I'm going to pull that up. Okay, so I have the 11 components of effective apologies that I have developed based on research. I didn't invent this way of looking at apologies, but I do have my own particular way of talking about it. And let's go through this. So she hasn't said, I'm sorry. She hasn't said, I apologize. She hasn't said, I take full responsibility. But you don't have to say those things. In some criteria sets for apologies, you have to say, I'm sorry. But you don't have to. Apologies are an idea. It's not a verbatim. And to say it's a verbatim, for some people, they misunderstand and think that if they just say they're sorry, then they've apologized, but not necessarily. But let's rewind a little bit, because I think essentially she's apologizing right now, and let's look at whether or not she meets the criteria, which I think she will.
All I want is to find my person. I want you to find your person, and I want him to find his person. So, like, I would not have said shit in front of you. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, it's a bit of a jumble, but I think Lauren is receiving it. So Molly identifies, I wouldn't have said shit in front of you, and I think they both understand what she's referring to. So when we look at, I have 11 components, but really the first 6 are achievable in a short-term situation, because the other criteria, 7 through 11, have to do with things that aren't necessarily perceptible in a third-party view, and also require time to pass. But anyway, let's look at the first 6. So the first one is to acknowledge the transgression. I did this thing, right? So she acknowledged it. I talked that shit. And they both understand it's not a horrific transgression. And it's arguably not even something she needs to apologize for, but she feels bad and she wants to. So she's doing that. Lauren is receiving it well and letting her talk. So let's continue.
Yeah, no, I know.
and I hope you know that.
Yeah.
I really thought
like,
it was
totally-
Sarah until Sarah was like, it wasn't me.
Okay, so now she is providing context. There's a difference between making excuses for your actions, your transgression, and explaining the circumstances. So often in apology criteria sets, this will not be, in fact, the opposite will be in there. It's like, don't make excuses. And people over apply that. When we're apologizing, it can often help to be sorry and to take full responsibility for the transgression, but also to say, here's how I got there. It doesn't excuse it, but here's why that happened. Because if it's true, then it's true what you're explaining. And if it is counter to what the other person would assume, or what you would wonder if the other person would assume, like Lauren and people watching could assume that Molly is a jerkface, that she doesn't care, that she's narcissistic and arrogant and stuff. And what Molly is wanting to, I think, get out ahead of is, I wasn't trying to rub it in your face. I didn't know it was you. I honestly thought it was Sarah. That's why I was blabbing a little bit in front of you and not in front of Sarah. And then when I found out, I was like, I felt bad. I'm showing my work. I'm showing I have a heart and I have concern for other people. And yet I still made a mistake and I regret it. I shouldn't have done that. So, number one, I did this thing. I'm acknowledging the transgression. Number two, acknowledging the harm. She hasn't done that yet, but it could be implied. In a scenario like this that's pretty brief, it could be communicated and received by Lauren that, given her demeanor, that she recognizes that it would harm, it would make Lauren feel bad or feel scared or something. Number three is take responsibility. So these are, acknowledging the transgression and taking responsibility can be joined into one, but I like to have them be two, because sometimes one or the other will happen and you need both. So you need to say, I did this thing, and I also will acknowledge that it's no one else's fault but mine. Now, she might not have to say that because, again, it's implied. A lot of the meeting of the criteria that I observe and also try to exhibit myself is, in a pinch, you want to follow the format so you make sure you hit all the criteria. And by effective apologies, I mean apologies that are more likely to be received well, generally speaking. They might not forgive you, but it'll be received as a genuine care for someone else and an acknowledgement that you probably need to look at something in yourself to change in the future. It can be as small as bumping into someone in the supermarket and saying, "Oh, sorry." And by that, you will imply a lot of the elements. You don't want to sit someone down and have a long conversation about you're sorry for bumping into them at the supermarket, but the communication is there with just a, "Oh, sorry," depending on the transgression type or scenario. Anyway, so another criterion here that I have is sincerely express remorse. I feel bad. Again, it could be implied in her demeanor and her delivery. Number 5 is explain the cause without making excuses, which she's doing right now. She is fairly clearly, to me anyway, explaining, here is how I ended up blabbing in front of you about how great my relationship with Dave was going. I was mistaken. I still feel bad, and it's still a transgression. I'm not making excuses, but here's why. And then number 6 is provide a plan to address the cause in the future, meaning I will work on this. Now, in this scenario, I don't think either one of them would expect that conversation to happen. I don't think Lauren would care, that Molly would, say, I now realize that I need to think before I say stuff sometimes, or I need to be more careful. Molly doesn't have to say that, I think, to Lauren, but it might also be kind of implied. So let's continue watching.
And I was like, and then I was like, okay, there's someone else. I'm like, shit. I said it in front of her and I didn't know.
Oh, I know.
Like, I wouldn't have done that.
I know.
I realized I said something stupid in front of her, and I hope that's not why she's like not coming around us right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think to step outside of the apology analysis, Lauren was giving Molly space, I don't think out of spite, but out of just risk of having that conversation or that awkwardness or something, which I really feel like the show should provide some guidance on that. Maybe they do, but or maybe the cast, having seen the show, or at least some of the cast having seen the show, should get out ahead of that. I have that impulse. I want to make things understood so that there aren't misunderstandings like this, guidelines to follow, right? Or maybe even flexibility, and there would be some measure that the two of you would identify a third party that the two of you would talk to, and then that third party would provide guidance of like, well, she's okay with you completely, but she just is uncomfortable and just doesn't want to get into it. So she doesn't really want to talk with you, not because she hates you, but because she just doesn't want to get into the conversation about Dave. And so that's all this, or, something like that. It sounds weird, but it's such a weird scenario that I think it would help to have that. Because, Molly's trying to she's just trying to live her life and not hurt anyone's feelings, but inadvertently, I don't think Lauren was that harmed by it. If anything, Lauren, I think, was happy to hear it because it helped her to understand the landscape,
So,
Yeah.
and that's why you, were sleeping or distancing or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And I just want to be so honest.
Yeah.
I honestly, that's why I was so in my
I felt
head.
that, yeah.
And I don't and that's not you. That's literally not
Yeah.
you. And I
It's
want to
just he
reassure.
made me, yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry.
And good on Lauren. And apologies beget apologies, or understanding begets understanding. Giving someone the benefit of the doubt begets giving someone the benefit of the doubt. And Lauren right now is saying, if I seemed like I was busted up about something, it has nothing to do with you. It's me. I have an issue with that. So good on Lauren for saying that. Even if the bigger picture would be described as Lauren saying, I have an issue, Lauren didn't help. It would have helped if Lauren hadn't been so vocal about how great things were going, but it's still me. And so she's, I think, saying the short version of that.
Say it.
No. This is why it's weird, because I'm I don't want to say it.
No, it's okay. Say it. It's fine.
Just promises were made. Mm-hmm. Well,
Okay, so where did you leave? Did he go home?
no. He wants to pursue things with you, which I think is great.
Okay, interesting. It makes sense that Lauren would be interested in that. That is the big question. And everything literally hinges on that, potentially. You could see someone in Lauren's position thinking, literally the rest of my life, including the next hour of my life, but till the day I die, could be determined by whether or not Dave went home or is sticking around to be with me. Okay, but I would have hoped that Lauren would have intuited Molly is, verbally apologizing or wanting to tell her regret and remorse about having said a lot of things about her connection with Dave outwardly in the lounge. But it sounds like he just broke up with her, and I should probably say something. We should probably, even though I might be celebrating potentially on the inside, I should probably ask her, how are you doing, right? That wouldn't take much to do that. That would be the ideal. That would really get a 2 thumbs up for me, because that would really be going above and beyond. We've seen people do that. One of the things I was thinking about recently was developing some kind of comparison, because it can help to do that sometimes. And I do that sometimes on the show. Like in this season, at least so far, and maybe Sarah turns into be a horrible human being. I doubt it. But we can ask ourselves, what would Sarah do? Or what would Molly do, for that matter, if they were in Lauren's shoes? Or what would Brittany do? Or what would Marshall do from season 4? What would Freddie do from the UK season? So I actually thought I would develop a list in my notes of cast members along these lines. All right, so I spent a little bit of time going through all the cast that I've reacted to, and I think there's a lot of people who could be on this list, but to make it as concise as possible, I kept it to the following. What would Marshall do? What would Lauren do? Lauren from season 1. What would Cam do? What would Amy and Johnny do? What would Freddie do? So do we think that Marshall or Lauren from season 1 in Lauren's shoes right now, would they jump to that question of, so where's Dave? I think it's totally natural that Lauren has that question. I guess I just would have wished for, because Molly's still crying about this. Now, Molly isn't talking about the pain that she's feeling. It's also notable that Lauren thinks first, so did he go home? Now, maybe she's just assuming the worst just to not get her hopes up. But she is, at this point, at least verbally, indicating that if Dave breaks up with Molly, then Dave's going home because I'm number two. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
So I'm like, I love, like, Lauren's great, and if that's what he wants, like, I'm never gonna force anything.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to either like love this or hate this. I was like, I can't tell who's more Delulu. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like,
Okay. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with what now. The mixture of feelings that Lauren would be feeling right now, right? On the edge of a knife of, okay, Molly just came in. What's going on? Is she going to celebrate? Am I going to find out that I'm Delulu? Sounds like things didn't go well. So did he go home? He didn't go home. He wants to be with me. Like that's the first time that Lauren has reckoned with that, right? Every time that has happened, it has been tainted with, but Molly, whereas now it's pretty clear, right? So this would be that moment of just, oh my God, it's happening. So there'd be a lot of happiness and joy. So that would throw a wrench in one's attendance to Molly's pain right now. I mean, the way that Molly comes across is that she's very easygoing. So I think that could give the impression that Lauren could go to these topics of like, oh my God, yeah, it was so weird. I thought and she's basically calling Molly Delulu, right? Is she not? That's on her mind, Lauren. She has been wondering, wait, who is distorted? Who is wrong? Because I think I'm number one. She clearly thinks she's number one. One of us is wrong. Who is it? Is it me? Oh, it wasn't me. But don't say it's her. Molly wasn't Delulu. She had a lot of reasons, some very overt reasons, as to believe that at least she was in the running, if not very much number one.
it's like, I'm never gonna force anything.
yeah. Yeah. You're going to either like love this or hate this. I was like, I can't tell who's more Delulu. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like, literally.
And honestly, I like said this to him today. I was like, I don't get it. Like the way that we're talking, like you're either like really good at validating other people or you're like,
He's really good at validating other people.
Okay, so that might be a good direction to go if you're Lauren. You're thinking, is he must have been really validating? He must have been really indicating that he was into you. Is this a him thing and not a us thing? So I think they're seeing eye to eye because that is the way that it looks, right?
But I also don't want you to like take that and feel a different way.
point blank period, he should not have put us in this position.
Yeah.
And like that's on him.
Yeah. Obviously, ask your questions that you need.
And good on Molly that she predicts, and she's better at this conversation than Lauren is, and is saying to Lauren, yeah, he's really good at validating, but don't think that his validation of you is fake or wrong or something. So, don't think that. How would Molly know? But it's nice of her to attempt that. And then they are identifying, hey, I think this is Dave. And Lauren is nice to say, that's not okay that he did that. One of us would have a reason to be upset at him, depending on who he chose. So you have every reason to be upset at him because if he was doing to you what he was doing to me, he was doing a lot more to Molly. So, but Molly, I think she's pretty even-keeled, so I think she's not going to get too busted up about that.
Do what feels right for you. I wish you nothing but the best. I'm excited for you, and I'm excited for everyone. I do love you.
I love you too.
Yeah, and I hope I see you again. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, few thumbs up to Molly, right? I would hope that someone would hug Molly and take care. I mean, Lauren's hugging your back, which is good, but this is more the vibe of Molly being celebratory for Lauren rather than Lauren feeling bad for Molly and saying, I'm sorry for what happened, or I don't know what to say right now, or whatever. Molly is being the bigger person. Well, Molly's being a big person. Lauren is in a position of just like, really, you want to be friends with me? You don't want to hate me? And wow, that's nice. So Lauren is expressing that, thanks of that. But yeah. I mean, I wonder how much Molly is feeling. I would assume it's like what everyone else would be feeling. And it is interesting that Molly's tendency in this moment is to tend to others, whether that's just avoiding or lack of people paying attention to her, and so she doesn't take up space along those lines. I'm guessing it's probably door number 2 to some extent. And I wouldn't be surprised if one way of looking at this is she's having so much overwhelming feeling right now that the tears are sneaking through and the pain is sneaking through, but she's still in her way kind of avoiding it by tending to Lauren. I mean, if that's true, then there could be a lot of latent anger. I don't see any sign of that, but maybe at the reunion we would. If Molly shows up with a fair amount of anger, then maybe there is anger and it's being suppressed right now by her, or she is avoiding, which would later cause her to be angry because it doesn't give people the chance to take care of her. I don't know if Lauren would have been a good person. Anyway, bottom line, I would just hope that Molly gets a chance to talk about how she feels, all the feelings, and that someone would listen to her and care about her and take care of her. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please, truly, take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really do deserve it. We all deserve to take care of ourselves. You deserve to take care of others. You deserve others to take care of you. We all deserve care.